in the good times when there was money and there was revenue coming in and you were just like, yeah, this is good enough. And you didn't push yourself to get better. You didn't push yourself. Okay, can we make this offer better? Can we make our marketing better? Can we make our onboarding better? If you weren't pushing yourself during that time, when the bad time comes, it's too late.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the 8-Figure Agency Show, where a successful entrepreneur and a soon-to-be successful entrepreneur help you build an 8-figure agency by documenting our successes and our failures.
Man, so I'm sure you saw today, Derek, all these layoffs after layoffs. I was on multiple calls today with my team going, what are we going to do? And I'm like, what do you mean? People are scared about losing their jobs. And I know that the tech industry usually moves first, right? Because they're forecasting pretty far out and they're thinking about how are we going to get ahead of this dip that's going to hit us in, Q1 or Q2 or Q3 of next year. And that's where this is really looking at. So, I think this is a really important episode to talk about the recession that's coming, how that's going to impact agencies, how that's going to impact your bottom line, and how to really deal with the team members and recruiting and all those kind of things as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a really hot episode. We're going to dive into what it's like running a business in a recession. Gary has experience with that 3 recessions, right? You started SMC in a recession, went through COVID, and now this would be the 3rd one with SMC. Yeah. A lot to unpack there. It's going to be fire. And 11,000 employees laid off at Meta. It's crazy, and that's just Meta.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, they're planning. Those kind of companies have forecasting that they have to do, and so they're looking into next year, and they're saying if this trend keeps up of people spending less money on ads or whatever, then we're going to be this less. We're not going to be profitable, and so or as profitable. And so how do we protect against that? And then the only tool that they have in their belt right now to be able to prepare for that is to do layoffs. So.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me because, first of all, it's unfortunate for the families and, the people being laid off, right? But there is positives that come out of it. And there's 2 things that I see. Number one, I don't know if you could say it's a positive, but it's crazy to me. Like when you put this in perspective, 11,000 people. And these aren't just like contractors at $500 a month. These are like software engineers making $1,000 a day in their W-2 jobs. So the amount of money these companies have, it just puts it into perspective. And Alex Hormozi said this in a clip, and he's like, it's unfortunate, 11,000 people were laid off, but now all of this talent's back on the job market. So it gives opportunities for businesses like SMC.
There's a huge opportunity to hire developers and things like that just you wouldn't have before. And that is a huge opportunity. Like there's so much talent that's going to enter back in. So here's another way to think about it, Derek. In 2019, it was an employer market. So I don't know if you remember this or not, but it was the employers set the table. They were the ones dictating how much you were going to get paid, and there was long lines to get jobs, and they had lots of people to choose from. In 2020, after the bad thing happened in 2020 that we're not allowed to say because we get all of our algorithms all jacked up and all that stuff, and when that bad thing happened, it became an employee market. So employees were like, I don't want to come back to work, or I'll come back to work at this time if I want, and I want this much money. And they started dictating what was going to happen. Now, as of today, it is officially an employer market now. And that is a total shift from what people felt before. And all this stuff that people were complaining about before and saying, well, employees need to do this, and that's all going to disappear. Now you're going to go back to an employer market, and there's going to be lines to get jobs, and people are going to stay at their jobs longer. Employee turn isn't going to be the issue that you were dealing with just a couple weeks ago. You just watch. People are going – everybody's mindset's going to totally change.
It's crazy to me, and this is why I love making content so much, because where my head went at right there, Gary, is you and I, in one of the first few 8-Figure episodes, actually did a segment on this already, and we were talking about what we were seeing live day-to-day in the employer market, and I brought up the fact that I was like, Gary, at first, when I first started the agency, it was really hard to find talent. It's still hard to find talent, but now it's getting easier and easier every single day. So, it's crazy to see this day by day, and that's why I love making content, because we could just put that up right now, that clip. But listen, before we get into it, it's going to be an absolutely amazing episode. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. We want to get some more reviews. We have a lot of people listening to these episodes and not a lot of people leaving reviews. So if we provided you value, leave a review, share the episode with somebody who you think might benefit from it. And with that, Gary, let's riff on recession.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's first of all talk through how you deal with this is going to really be determined on your mindset. So it's all mindset stuff, right? So if you're one of those people who I'm just going to give you it as an example. If you're one of those people who just got laid off at Facebook, you could be like, oh no, this is horrible. This is the worst thing ever to happen to me. And that's one perception, and you're allowed to have that perception, and you can approach it that way. Or you could say, you know what? This is a great opportunity because I'm going to be able to take my skills to a smaller company, maybe make a little bit less money, but maybe get some equity in that company and have an opportunity that I didn't have. And maybe I was kind of comfortable at Facebook, or I was kind of comfortable at Google, and I wasn't really growing. I really wasn't pushing myself. And now I get to grow, and now I get to really push myself outside of my comfort zone. That's your choice. You can look at that either way. And if you're a business owner right now, you get to look at it either way as well. You can look at it as, okay, there's a coming recession. It's going to be hard. How do we want to tackle this? So let me just share with you, Derek, how we're going to tackle this. I'm already telling the team, I know how to protect us from this recession. And it's very simple, and it protects everybody in the company. It protects me, it protects my job, it protects my paycheck, it protects the company, and it protects every single one of our team members. It's growth. It's time to grow. And we're going to be vicious about growing. And if you grow, and you help me grow, and we can all grow together, it is going to change the way that we think about this recession, because we won't think of it as a recession. We're going to think of it as a great opportunity.
You know, let me ask you this, because I think a lot of listeners would relate to this, because I don't have experience doing this. So I really want to learn about this so I can navigate my team and my business through this successfully and really come out on top. So I've heard you talk about this many times, and a lot of other people as well. Like, you're in a recession, double down on your marketing spend, grow, grow, grow. But please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is probably the wrong perspective. But what I see in the recession is, if we do that, what is to say that people will actually bite on our, on our services and our offer without just constantly saying rejected, rejected, rejected? Or is that part of the game where if they're rejecting you in a recession, your offer is not good enough, or it's too expensive, or you're not valuable enough? What are your perspective on that?
No, that's 100%. Yeah, if your marketing is broken, see, this is why you never rest on your laurels in business. You don't do that. And here's why. If you're if in the good times when there was money and there was revenue coming in, and you were just like, yeah, this is good enough, and you didn't push yourself to get better, you didn't push yourself, okay, can we make this offer better? Can we make our marketing better? Can we make our onboarding better? If you weren't pushing yourself during that time, when the bad time comes, it's too late. You're going to have to eat it, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to be very painful. And then now you get that lesson, and now you get to go back and learn it again. You'll get that second opportunity and go back. And now the next time when the good times come, you're not going to lean back. You're not going to just say, oh, we're comfortable. We're good with where we're at, and that's fine. Being comfortable in business, especially as a leader, is very, very dangerous. So hopefully you have something that you've built during that good time, and now you can double down, triple down, and push through that. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, Derek, is that everybody else, and when I say everybody, I'm exaggerating, most people are going to pull back, because that's our natural instinct, is to say, let me hold some of my money. Let me hold some of let's stop spending on marketing. Let's stop spending on outreach. Let's stop investing into those areas. So what that does, Derek, you know how this works. What happens when on Facebook, if everybody's running ads? The ads don't work. But when everybody pulls back their ads, or you find a niche where no one's targeting these people and you can run ads to people that nobody else is hitting, guess what? The ads work really well. And so that's what's going to happen, is that you're going to have people who are going to step in to the discomfort and the risk, and then you're going to have most people who step backwards, and they're not going to step into it. No matter how much people like you and me talk about it and say, step into it, most people are going to step back. And it's the same thing with the employee market. During a great time where there's tons of job offers and tons of things out there and opportunities, most employees are going to be like, I'm going to see if I can make more money, and I'm going to jump to a different company. And I'm going to see, maybe double dip, even work 2 jobs at the same time, right? I've seen that before. And they're totally comfortable doing that because they feel like they have a safety net. But when you see what we're seeing right now, that all changes. And then there's a long line for jobs, and you got to compete a lot harder. Then people are like, I'm not going to go out and look for a job right now. That's just too risky. I'm just going to stay here because it's more comfortable.
I want to go a little bit deeper into this, right? Because you made a really awesome point, and it's that even though people like us, right, are saying double down, really I'm just listening here today on today's episode, but you're saying double down, go all in. But I think the reason why a lot of people don't do it, aside from lack of experience, and I can speak to this firsthand, they don't know what that actually means by doubling down. So my gut instinct as the business owner is to say, okay, yes, double down, go harder in a recession, but there's a smart way to do it, and then there's a dumb way to do it.
So let's work through it. Let's do it for your business. How much resources are you spending right now on outreach?
Outreach in terms of capital every single month?
Capital, manpower, yeah.
Yeah, we're probably investing between $2,000 and $3,000 a month.
So double that.
Okay. Okay.
So double
that. It's simple. But, when it comes down to the money, though, is that the smartest thing to do versus doing 25% more?
Well, okay. That's better than nothing. But here's what most people are going to do. Let's stop doing reach out. Let's stop doing outreach.
Yeah, I thought
because we don't have the money. We don't have the money.
I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about that all day. Like, do I cut back? Do I stop doing outreach?
There you
what
go.
If I just retain? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you see? So now, but here's the other thing: is that outreach is actually going to become more effective. Even if you stink at your marketing and your offering stinks, it's going to become more effective because less people are going to be doing it.
No, that's absolutely right.
So the first thing that these companies are going to do, they're going to call all their contractors, and they're going to say, "Hey, we got to lay everybody off. We got to stop using your services for outreach because we need to save that $1,000, $2,000." That's what they're going to do, guaranteed.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
Absolutely.
And this is what stinks for marketing agencies. So let's work backwards on this. This is what the stinky part is for marketing companies, is that it's like, let's cut marketing because it's easy to cut marketing. But there's tons of research around this. You're stupid if you cut marketing during a recession. It's the dumbest thing you can do because your business is shrinking because people are spending less at your establishment, whatever your business is. And so they're spending less money with you. And then now you're going to stop marketing, which is going to just double down on the pain that you're feeling. So the business savvy thing to do is to go spend more money on marketing when the marketing is going to be more effective.
That's huge. It's such a difficult shift, though. Like, it really, really is. It's so hard because you're sitting here, you want to play defense, but in reality, you should be playing offense. Yes. It's such a hard switch.
It is. Yeah. That's why it works every time.
So Gary, then let's again go deeper here, right? Because I really want to provide value to the audience. So number one, you're saying, okay, your instinct is to go into defense, but if you fight your instincts and really go hard and you go into offense strategically, right? Which I think where I was going with it is profit first. I think you were going to get there eventually as well, where it's like, listen, just change the profit first model, keep the profit first, just reassess for the recession. Is that correct?
Well, no, like there is risk involved with this, right? That's the part that's scary. If it was just like, yeah, here, give me $100 and I'm going to give you $10,000 back, then everybody would do it. But it's not that simple. Right? Then nothing is that simple. There is risk involved with it. Right now is not the time to be thinking about profits. Right now is the time to be thinking about growth. If you're thinking about profits, that's what the tech companies are doing. They're all thinking about profits. That's it. So they're forecasting next year that they're going to be losing profit. Their profit's going to drop. So that's why they're laying people off. Because that's how they hedge against that. Laying off 10,000 people at, if they're each earning on average $10,000 a month, that's a lot of money you just saved right there. Do the math on it, right? So that's all goes to your bottom line. Like you just made that money back. So that $10 million or $100 million or whatever the math is on that we were going to lose next quarter, we just saved it. We just got it back. But you did it by a labor reduction. Right?
$110 million. That's a lot of money.
$110 million.
And it's probably more than that.
Yeah, a month. So that's $300 million, $330 million for a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's billions.
So it's $250 million a quarter. So it's $1 billion over a year. So they just And that I just did average, right? It might be more than that. It might be less than that. So that's what they did, Derek. They were thinking about profits. What I'm saying is now is not the time to be thinking about profits, especially if you're smaller. Now is the time to be thinking of growth. Grow. Now is the time to grab market share. Facebook already has market share. Amazon already has market share. They don't need to think that way. We don't have the market share.
No, that's huge. It's so, I mean, I don't know. It's so, experience will tell. I mean, I can't wait to cut this clip up in like 7 years after like going through 2 more recessions and like putting this up. It's crazy because me right now in this seat and probably a lot of people listening to this, I'm struggling with it. I'm like, okay, I know my business needs to pull in this every month. This is my expenses. I can spend more here, or I can hold on to this cash. It's risky, but we didn't get into this game to alleviate risk. We got into this game to play the game, and that's the whole point. Risk is what makes the game.
I'm super excited.
I could tell. I could see it. I could see it.
So it's because these opportunities don't come about very often.
Yeah.
And I know what everybody else is going to do, Derek. I don't have a lot of situations where I know where everybody else is going to do. I don't have a lot of situations when I know strategically what all the opponents on the table are going to do during this time.
That's what's going to make you win. No, absolutely. So, Gary, let's go one step further, right? So now we're clear, like, okay, we got to go all in. We got to really play offense when everyone's playing defense. What does that actually look like, though, besides just, spend more money, invest more? How do you set your team up for success? How do you ensure that they're aligned with you throughout the recession so that they don't crumble underneath you?
Well, first, let's start about this. So if you're listening to this and you don't own a company yet, now's the time to start. Right now. You won't have another great opportunity like this for probably another 10 years, maybe more. Okay? So these only come around every so often. I've been in business now for 2008. So what is that? 15 years or so? So for about 15 years, I've been in business, 14 years. I've only had a couple of these opportunities. So you're not going to get another one like this for a long time. So now is the time to start. That's why I'm like excited about it. The second thing is that you want to, if you do own a business, you want to start changing your mindset. So just like I told you about the Facebook or the Google employee that got laid off, they have 2 mindsets that they get to pick from, right? And neither are wrong. I can't go to either one of them and be like, you're so dumb. Why are you thinking that way? I can't approach them like that. I have to go to them and I have to say, look, how do you feel about this? And whatever mindset that they have, that's true for them. And that is how they're going to tackle the situation. So I come to somebody like you, Derek, and say, what is your mindset going to be? And you have to set that. If you're already like scared, I'm not saying you are, but if you're already scared to death and you're already like, hey, this is what we're doing, there's not a lot I can do or say. And again, this is why I said I already know what the vast majority of people are going to do. Yep. And the reason why is because fear causes everyone to act exactly the same. When we run out of toilet paper on the shelves, what happens? Everybody acts like wild animals and goes and buys more toilet paper, and it compounds the problem. And it's very evident what's going to happen. So that's the first thing: is what is your mindset going to be about it? Is this the greatest opportunity of your life, or is this when you're going to be scared to death?
How do you balance that, though? Like, to those listening, tactically speaking, and we could probably point them to another 8-Figure Ain't Issue episode, but if we had to give them a snippet right now, what's a quick tip you would give them on, hey, here's how you set up your mindset for success in a recession?
It's just a choice. You have to choose that this is how I'm going to approach it. I don't think there's like a strategic – there's not a book that I wake up and read in the morning, you know what I mean, like that says, hey, this is how your mindset's going to be. It's a choice of how you're going to approach life. And – I wish there was an easier, I wish there was a 1, 2, 3 step that I could give somebody to say, here's how you're going to do it. It's just a choice of how you're going to approach life. You can approach it and look at the fear side of it. And to be honest with you, you're right to view it that way. It is scary. There is tons of stuff to be worried about. There's an asteroid could hit us next month. That you could be scared of that too. But on the flip side, there's infinite amount of opportunities that are before us as well. So which one are you going to choose to execute on? Which one do you choose to live out? And that's it. That's all. I mean, that's really life at the core of everything. Anyways, you know what I mean? That's what makes us who we are on a daily basis and how we interact with people.
No, absolutely. So I mean, again, you're basically saying double down, offense, and just control your mindset. It's really simple.
Okay, so you have to control your mindset, but then after that, okay, so now you have the mindset, okay, we got to grow. So now, okay, here's the second thing. After you get your mindset squared away, now go to your team and start setting the table with your team that, hey, we need to grow. This is a real thing that's going on right now. We need to grow. Let's grow together. Let's grow together. And growth is going to protect us. So here's what I'm thinking. So interesting enough, Derek, last week, before the buzz really took off on this, the people that I report directly to me, I shot them our growth plan for Q1. It was insane. They were like, whoa, this isn't what we talked about. And I'm like, I know, it's way out. It's like double. And they're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. I don't know either. But I know that if we even hit 50% of this, it'll be amazing. Okay. So I'm already setting the table for Q1. Way beyond what we talked about and what we aimed for.
After this call, I think I need to go check the good old bank accounts and move some funds around, reassess some investments for Q1 myself right now because, yeah.
Well, you know all that competition you've been facing? You know how I get hit up every single day like, I'll edit your clips for free. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to dry up.
You know, I'm not worried about competition. I've never been worried about competition because our results speak for themselves, honestly. And for me, what I'm worried about more so is people actually biting on the offer. Because, again, I've never worked through a recession. I've never ran a company through a recession. I've never ran a company that does podcast marketing or podcast clips in a recession. And I just don't know if people will bite when they have
okay, so this is
funds.
a different conversation then. Well, let me ask you a question. When you first started, because when you first started your company, even though it's fairly new, there wasn't a lot of clip editors. I looked for them. So
there weren't any.
There were. Like I would go out and I'd be like, "Hey, can you edit these clips?" They're like, "Sure." And they were all like traditional video editors, and they didn't know how to edit shorts. And I knew that there was people who knew how to do it, but I didn't know where to go find those people. Like you couldn't Google search it, right?
Yep.
And so at that time, were you getting more or less business?
Well, okay, it really depends. So we average 1 to 2 new clients a month, and that's been consistent up until now. It really hasn't slowed down. But the bites have been way more, the attention at first with less outreach was way hotter exactly a year ago. Literally a year ago.
That's why. Because you had less competition. So if your competition disappears overnight, then you're going to have more opportunity, right? So if I rewind, so you can say, well, we don't care about competition. That's fine. You can not care about it, but it does make a difference, right? If I have nobody to compete against, I'm going to have more business than if I have people to compete against. So that is a factor. Okay. So you're going to have a lot of people who are just starting out their businesses that are willing to do shorts for really, really cheap that are going to disappear. Like, gone. Okay. So that's because they got to go get a job. They got to go pay their bills. So that's going to happen, guaranteed. So now, okay, what's the other thing that can happen? Well, there's two things that recessions do. Recessions bring the real players to the forefront, and then it drowns out the people who shouldn't be in the game to begin with, okay? So let me give you an example. So when the thing happened in 2020 that we're not allowed to say the word of, that everybody knows what I'm talking about, when that happened, what happened to certain businesses? Some businesses exploded and some disappeared. Why? Like, why did Zoom blow up?
They served a market that was needed at the time.
Mm-hmm. So Zoom was a forward-thinking company that was thinking like, hey, in the future, there's going to be a lot of people video conferencing. It's going to be good overall. And what the recession did at that time, or what the bad thing that happened at that time in 2020, it sped that along. Well, then what happened to all the offices that people came and meet together at? And, there's all these companies that had like co-working spaces and things like that. What happened to those? They shrunk. Why? Because it wasn't as needed as much anymore. There was a cheaper way to solve that problem, right? Not to say that problem disappears completely, but there's a clear contrast there. The ones that were forward thinking, that were solving the problem, grew really, really fast, and the ones that were kind of old and not really solving that great of a problem shrunk or went away. Do you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
So what the recession does is it causes you to see which companies are going to be there in the future and which ones aren't.
Yeah, that's huge. It's honestly a big mindset shift for me, right? Because, I knew it, but also I needed to hear it say it. It's one of those, again, I always point to Alex Hormozi, but I really like his content. He always says obvious truths, right? This was an obvious truth. It was like, well, yeah, obviously, Derek, you're not getting as many bites because everybody is doing clips right now. But the second the recession gets even worse and people can't get new business, they're all going to leave, and the business is going to come to you if you be persistent and double down on outreach, go all in, right? And then I'll be hiring those people that we're going to be doing clips before, right? That's the cycle. Yeah,
now,
and I was pointing to the offer.
Where you'll get yourself in trouble, Derek, do you believe that your company is like the future, right? That's where it gets sticky. So if you have 2 clients quit all of a sudden because they just can't pay for the service anymore, is that and then you're not getting sales because it's like, hey, it's too expensive. Like that might be a problem, right? If maybe there's a better way to do what you're doing. I'm not saying there is, but if there's a better way to do it, like people are going to find it. That the recession is what proves it. That's why it's such a good time to start a company, because you get the opportunity. So if someone came along, let's just say someone came along and created a robot, and they said, hey, we can get this robot to come into your episode, to pull out blogs from the episode, to pull out tweets from the episode, and pull out video clips from this episode. And we can do it all for $100. You can pay $100 a month, and you can use it unlimited, as much as you want. Well, that would be a problem for your company, right?
Yeah.
And so you would be now considered the old way of doing things, right? Where it's clunky, you have humans, and you have to have interaction, you have to give feedback, and now you just have a machine doing it all, right? So now the old way would disappear, and the new way would come forward, and it would be very natural. Like everybody would see it, and like, duh, that's the way that it should be. So you have to think in that mindset. Those are the mindsets you have to think through.
Yeah, honestly, where I struggle with it, because look, I know that our service, our offering is strong, and it can be way better, and that's what I'm literally working on every day to improve it, internally, externally, with the services and the offer we provide. But where I struggle, and I've been talking about on the show pretty frequently, Gary, you're familiar, is kind of the pivot, right, into like business owners and starting podcasts, right? Because especially in a recession, I'm literally going through it. Everybody who's like bit for like, hey, let's get a meeting, the second we get to the pricing, or the second we actually get to the next steps, even if we say we'll do it for like $1,000 a month, which is insane, right? It's still a no, right? Whether it's 1,000, 2,000.
Have you asked them why? Do you say, why is it a no?
It's money. It's always money. It's always money. And so my head goes to, okay, why is every single person rejecting the offer based on the money? Even if they say, hey, we'll invest X amount, we say, okay, let's do it for X amount, they still say no, right? That means that there's a value discrepancy there, right? Despite us putting, our best foot forward. Yeah. And it really makes me question, is our offer strong enough? Am I able to articulate the value in starting a podcast and doing what we're doing now effectively, right? Because virtually what we're doing right now is doubling down. Right, so like anybody who was gonna take up on our offer and stuck through with us in the recession, invested an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a month with us, would be the top dogs after the recession, because that's what the content does. I guess maybe it's me, and I'm not able to articulate that value properly on sales calls. That's getting really tactical, but what's your thoughts around that?
You have to be able to sell that on the flip side. Is that what is this content actually going to do for their company? How does that look and feel? How long does that take? And then what else can they get for that money too, Derek? So if you're not going to spend this money on this, that's probably the question I would ask, is like, hey, so this is $1,000 and you're not going to spend it here. Where just out of curiosity, because I'm trying to figure out how to position my agency, like where are you going to go put that $1,000? And if they're like, well, we're going to put it to Google AdWords to bring people directly to my business, leads directly to my business, that gives you the answer. They need direct results like right this second.
And so how does someone like me in my position with an agency that can't deliver direct results this second? Because I have that happen all the time. And I literally say to them, I say, guys, listen, if that's the case and you need that right now, we're not going to be a good fit for you, because we're just going to churn you in a month, right? So I recommend don't invest $1,000 with us, spend it on Google AdWords. Are we talking to the wrong prospects? Are we not doing enough outreach?
I think so. I think they're not far enough down the funnel yet, right? So here's the way that I've kind of learned it. So when you first get started in business, everybody loves direct response marketing. And that's where all marketers start. And direct response marketing means I pick up a phone, I call somebody and say, hey, do you want to buy it? Or I put up an ad and someone clicks on it and they come in and they buy. And those are great because it's very measurable. I spent $10,000, Got 100 leads, 50 of those bought, and it was profitable. Yay. And people are like, this is the only way to market. I was that way when I started. I was like, this is the only way to market. Why would anybody else market any other way? That's the early entrepreneur. And the reason that we all feel that way is because it's the only option that we have. There's no other option, right? It's not like you're going to, you don't have any other option. So the other side, what ends up happening to companies as they grow is we learn about branding. And branding's totally different. Branding is you can't measure the ROI. You can't see the response that you're getting. And you have to realize that it's an enhancer on everything else that you're doing, but it's an invisible enhancer. So you're not going to be able to tie it all together, right? And so, but branding's much more powerful than direct response. Much more powerful. There's a reason that Louis Vuitton doesn't run direct response ads. They don't run discounts. Why? Because they built a brand. Right? They took the time. They built the brand. It's worth it. No matter what you think about it, it's worth that much money because people are willing to buy it. And so what you have to do is you're selling branding. You're not selling direct response. So you have to be able to work with people who understand that. I understand it because I'm in marketing, right? But most people you're talking to are not marketing people.
Yep. Absolutely. No, I'm sitting here thinking this is crazy. It just happens every time we film MadeFig, right? Because it's just a cycle of business. It always goes back to that rule of thirds, Gary. It's crazy. But we need to be doing more. Like when I hang up this call today, and I said this to my team to edit, I'm gonna go hire 3 more BDRs.
Well, here's the other thing I would do, and we talked about it today. I would figure out how to manufacture my own opportunities.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to me and says, hey, I want to do a podcast, but I just don't have the money to invest into it, I would say, well, how about this? What would you be willing to invest into it? Number one. And then and what would that mean to your business? If we can make you the thought leader in your space by doing this, what would that be worth? And would that be valuable to you? Would you be willing to invest an hour a week? And you can feel that they have charisma, that they'd be able to actually do it, right? The wrong people won't. There's certain people won't be able to carry that vision forward. And then from there and say, okay, you don't have money to do it. You can do $1,000 or $500 a month. What if I could go get you a sponsor that would sponsor your podcast for you? And they would go, oh yeah, then I would totally do it in a heartbeat. Okay, cool. So then I would go out and get a sponsor and say, hey, for $2,500 a month, I got this guy that uses your product. He loves it. And he's also going to talk. We're going to talk about it every single time. We're going to work it into the clips. This is how many views you're going to get. Blah 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 blah. For $2,500 a month for the 6. I just asked for 6 months. Here's the exposure that you're going to get on this podcast. That is a way that you could actually build out your own customer base. And then what you would do is now then you create a farm system of people who want to start podcasts but don't have money for it. And then you create a farm system of people who want to sponsor podcasts.
I'm not thinking big enough, Gary. No, you're absolutely right.
And then you plug and play. Then you're just plugging and playing, and then you can do as much as you want, as fast as you want, because now you have the personality. Because that's the hard part. The businesses that are willing to sponsor don't know where to go find the personalities to sponsor it, right? And then the big podcasts are too expensive.
I don't want to be corny about it or anything like that, but it's crazy because I keep learning this lesson every day. I relearn the same lesson and mindset. I mean, I relearn this every single day because there's nothing that you're telling me that's not, again, like Alex once said, an obvious truth, right? But it's all about the way that someone interprets it. Because I could be defensive, I could get, afraid, I could be risk averse, but instead if I just said, hey, I'm not doing enough outreach, I'm not investing enough, I didn't reach out to enough people to really gauge on, hey, is this offer not good enough? I didn't try the sponsors things first, so I can't say that the offer isn't good enough. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So what are you going to do?
I'm going to reinvest. No, I'm going to literally go and tactically right after this call, I have to go buy another seat of Seamless AI for a new BDR I hired, and I have to go invest in Sales Navigator for a new BDR that I hired, and then I'm going to go hire another BDR, and maybe another one after that.
What's a BDR?
Yes, good question. A business development rep. So they're the person responsible for cold outreach, all the direct response Gary was talking about. That's what they'll be responsible for. Good question.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, I'm excited, man. Anything else we need to cover?
No. I mean, if you're listening to this and your mind isn't blown like mine was, then probably weren't listening well enough, so you should probably re-listen again. But hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for getting through the end of the video. Drop us a like and leave us a comment on what you think about this video. If there's ever any future topics you want us to cover, drop it in the comments. We'll be sure to cover it. If you haven't already joined the Agency Growth Engine Mastermind hosted and ran by Gary, guys, I have 10x my business being in that mastermind. Go there right now. Join it. We have some of the biggest names behind some of the biggest people on social media and on paid ads. You won't believe the people that are in this group, in this Discord. I still can't believe it. And we're like a message away. Join it. agencygrowthengine.com. It's completely free.
Bro, I didn't even know that, bro. That's crazy. That's
so true. I never even
thought about that.
It just hit you now?
Yeah. And right when you said that, I was like, oh, I know who you're talking about. I'm like,
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
We have some of the biggest people, like the biggest in the industry, and nobody knows they exist except us in this room right now and those listening. And you could get access to them for free in the Agency Growth Engine Mastermind.
They're just like, hey, and they're asking questions like, how do I set up my onboarding team? And just like, hey, let us help you. And they're like, and then they're there, and I'm like, hey, how should we splice this short, or how should we? And
crazy.
It's crazy. That is nuts,
crazy,
bro.
It's crazy, Gary. What you're building is awesome. It's gonna be so big.
It's free too. That's the cool part.
Yep.
I need to figure out how to make money off of it.
Oh, there's a lot of ways. But hey, if you're listening, leave us a review. If you're watching this clip, or you're not watching this clip, but check us out on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. A lot more content coming down in the future. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the 8 Figure Agency Show. We will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.